Good afternoon. Uh, so let us start with module 5, designing with distributed objects. Uh, with respect to design with distributed object, as business grows, setup operation over large geographic area may span multiple states or even countries and often find it desirable to process data at their point of origin or create result at the location where they are needed. Distributed processing offers a number of advantages. It is more economical and efficient to process the data at the point of origin. Distributed system makes it easier for the user to access and share resources. They also offers higher reliability and availability. Failure of a single computer does not cripple the system as a whole. It is also more cost effective to add more computing powers. So these are nothing but the advantage of distributed processing. Coming to its drawbacks, the software for implementing them is complex and it must coordinate actions between a number of possibly heterogeneous computer systems. If data is replicated, the copies must be made mutually consistent. Data access may be slow because information may have to be transferred across the communication link. This is another disadvantage. Securing data is a challenge. As data is distributed over multiple systems and transported over communication links, care must be taken to guarantee that it is not lost, corrupted, or stolen. Two approaches to overcome this drawback building a distributed system are the system mechanism uses Java remote method invocation, which is piece of software generally called middleware that helps mask heterogeneity. That is Java RMI. And the second approach uses the World Wide Web itself to access data processed at the remote sites. Client server system. There are two types. Distributed system can be classified into peer-to-peer system. In the former, every computer system, that is nothing but the node in the distributed system, runs the same set of algorithm and they are all equal in some sense. Whereas in client server system, there are two types of nodes. One is client and one is server. A client machine sends the request to one or more servers which processes the request and return the result to the client. Many applications can use this model and these days the software at many clients are web browsers. Basic architecture of client and server. So you have user interface, the client server system where you have client and server. So in server subject object oriented system paradigm is used, whereas client which is represented in the form of user interface. Each client runs a program that provides a user interface which may or not be a GUI. The server hosts an object-oriented systems and client send the request to the server. These requests are processed by the object-oriented system at the server and the result are returned. The result are then shown to the end user via the user interface at the client. Difficulty in accessing the objects in different JVM. As you can see here, JVM1, JVM2, and there are different address spaces. One object 1 is suppose located in A1, object 2 is located at A2. Similarly, on JVM2, object 3 suppose in A3 and object 4 is A4. Uh, the difficulty in accessing object in different JVM. This difficulty can be handled in one of the two ways. By using the object-oriented support software, that is nothing but RMI, the software solves the problem by the use of proxies that receives method calls on remote object and ship these calls and then collect and return the results to the object that invoke the call. The client could have a custom built piece of software that interacts with the server software. Second one is by avoiding the direct use of remote object by using hypertext transfer protocol. The system sends the request and collect the responses via encoded text messages. And the objects to be used to accomplish the task, the parameter, are all transmitted via these messages. So this is just nothing but the example when different objects are located in different addresses like A1 and A2 and in another system suppose A3 and A4. Code with object 2 can access field and method in object 1 using the address A1. However, addresses in A3 and A4 that gives the addresses to the object 3 and object 4 in JVM2 are meaningless with JVM1. To see this, suppose A1 and A3 are equal, then accessing the fields using the address given A3 from the code within a JVM will end up accessing memory location within object 1. Java remote method invocation, it uses proxy design pattern. You have, as far as structure of proxy, which already we have seen in third module. So we have your participants are client, subject, proxy and real request. So client send the request and the proxy will ship that request to the real subject. Java RMI is to support the building of the client server system. Server hosts an object-oriented system that the client can access programmatically. The objects at the server maintained for the access by the client are termed as remote object. A client accesses a remote object by getting what is called as remote references to the remote object. Uh, After the client may invoke the methods of the object, the basic idea behind RMI is to employ the proxy design pattern. And this pattern is used when it is inefficient or inconvenient to use the actual object. The proxy pattern creates a proxy object at each client side and accesses the remote object. The proxy object implements all of the remote objects operation that the remote object want to be available to the client. When the client calls a remote method, the corresponding method of the proxy object is invoked. The proxy object then accesses a message that contains the remote object's identity, method name and parameter, and this assembly is called as marshalling. In this process, the method call must be represented with enough information so that the remote side knows the object to be used, the method to be invoked, and the parameter to be supplied. When the message is received by it, the server performs demarshalling, whereby process is reversed. So setting up the remote object system is accomplished by 4 steps. Define the functionality that must be made available to the client, which is accomplished by creating remote interfaces. Implement the remote interface via remote classes. Create a server that serves the remote object and set up the client. First is remote interface. It defines the system functionality that will be exported to the clients, which implies the creation of Java interface. The functionality exported of a remote object is defined via what is called a remote interface. A remote interface is a Java interface that extends the interface java.rim .remote, which contains no method and simply serves as a marker. Clients are restricted to access method defined in the remote interface called remote method invocation. So the snippet that they are shown over here regarding the remote exception. Remote method invocation can fail due to a number of reasons, and those reasons are the remote object may have crashed, the server may have failed, or the communication link between the client and server may not be operational. As a result, our remote method must declare to throw this exception, and the snippet is shown over here. Throws remote exception, get author, get title, get ID. One example for library management system. Second one is implementing a remote interface. After the remote interface are defined, the next step is to implement them via remote class. Parameters to and return values from a remote method may be of primitive type, of remote type, or of a local type. All arguments to a remote object and all return values from a remote object must be serializable. They also implement the java.io serializable interface. Parameters of non-remote types are passed by copy. They are serialized using the object serialization mechanism. They too must implement the serializable interface. Remote object must somehow be capable of being transmitted over the network. A convenient way to accomplish this is to extend the class java.rmi server.unicast remote object. Implementation snippet they have shown over here. So book class book extends unicast remote object which implements this book interface serializable. Book must be compiled using the RMI compiler by invoking the command rmic as below, rmic book. So that they had mentioned over here. Moving on to the next. Passing of the remote object as a reference. So you have uh, two proxies, client one proxy, client two proxy, it's remote side, so remote objects. Uh, one snippet they have shown with respect to remote object. When an exported remote object is passed as a parameter or returned from a remote method call, the stub for that remote object is passed instead of object itself. The stub itself contains a reference to a serializable object and implements all of the remote interfaces that the remote object implements. All calls to the remote interface go through the stub to the remote object. Parameters of remote values that are not remote objects are passed by value. Any changes to the object state by the client are reflected only in the client's copy, not in the server's instance. Similarly, if the server updates its instance, the changes are not reflected in client's copy. Now creating the server. Before a remote object can be accessed, it must be instantiated and stored in an object registry so that clients can obtain its reference. Such a registry is provided in the form of the class java.rmi.navy. The method bind is used to register an object and has the following signature. So bind string name in URL and remote object throws already bound exception, malformed URL exception, remote exception. And the process of creating and binding the name is given below. So the exception object, new class name, then parameters, then naming dot behind, the which try catch exception e system dot print in, so which throws the exception. The complete code for activating and storing the book object is as shown in figure, so I'm not going in detail. One example they had given. The client may get the references to the remote object it wants to access in one of the two ways. One is it can obtain a reference from the naming class using the method lookup. It can get a reference as a return value from another method call. The client may get a reference to just now is two methods, so it can obtain a reference from a naming class using the method lookup. For that one example they have given. So we assume that an object of the type some interface has been entered into the local registry under the name some name, and the client can invoke remote method on the object. The book interface object are called and displayed. So snippet with respect to library management system is shown. Setting up the system. To run the system, create two directories. One is a server and client. Copy the files bookinterface.java, bookjava and bookserver.java into the server and the file bookserver.java into client. Then compile three Java files in the server and then invoke the command rmicbook. This command creates the stub file book_stub.class. Copy the client program into the client and compile it. Run RMI registry and server program using the following commands: RMI registry java djava.rmi.server.codebase and the path. Finally, run the client as below from the client directory. So it's commands they have mentioned over here. Now moving on to the implementing an object oriented system on the web. World Wide Web is the most popular medium for hosting distributed applications.